Hello everyone, for today's design challenge we are going to make a battery operated propeller car. So the supplies that we'll be needing today are duct tape, electrical tape, copper tape, a plastic propeller, a plastic straw, a bamboo skewer, 4 plastic caps, a 9-volt battery, a 9-volt battery clip, a small motor, motor stand, on-off switch, scissors, a small piece of cardboard, and a hot glue gun with some glue that I have off to the side. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is take my 9-volt battery and my battery clip, and I'm going to clip that in place. And then once you have this clipped, make sure that you are not letting these two metal ends touch each other, because if they have contact with each other, you will create energy and it will go back to the battery, and that will cause your battery to get very, very hot. So just keep in mind to keep those separate as you're putting things together. The next thing I'm going to do is take this little piece of cardboard that I have cut, and with my hot glue gun I'm going to glue this to the bottom of my battery, and this is going to act as the base for our car. So it should look like this. And then the next thing we are going to do is take our motor and our motor stand, and we are going to place it through here. Next, we are going to create our closed circuit. So depending on the motor that you have, because unfortunately not all these little motors are created equal, we are going to first test if we make a complete closed circuit, and then also test the direction of our motor shaft. You want to make sure that the shaft is rotating in the right direction, so that way it is pushing air out. So sometimes the motor will be successful when you connect red to black and black to red, and sometimes it will spin in the correct direction if we connect black to black and red to red. But we will not know until we investigate that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So first I'm going to connect my propeller, and using my electrical tape as a stand, I'm actually going to prop it right here. And then I am going to connect my red wire to my black wire from my battery. And I am going to touch my red wire to my black wire to make sure this is going to rotate in the right direction. So this is actually rotating in the wrong direction. So what I'm going to do is actually connect my wires red to red and black to black. Ooh, there we go. So now that that problem is solved, we can move forward and start taping down our wires because it rotated in the right direction. And you'll know because it takes off much faster. What I'm going to do is take this off for now and tape down my wires. So I've twisted those red wires onto each other, and then I'm going to take my copper tape and secure that in place. And then with my electrical tape, I am going to close that shut. So it should look something like that. Next, I am going to take my on and off switch, and we are going to connect both black wires to each terminal on the switch. First thing we want to do is double check if our switch is off or on. Okay, so I'm touching both of the wires and it appears to be off, so it is safe to attach those. I'm going to add some copper tape to this exposed metal, and then I am just going to place it on this terminal, making sure it has direct contact. Then with my electrical tape, I will tape that in place. It should look like this. And then I'm going to do the same with the other side. our wires should look like this. We could go ahead and test our on-off switch again if we'd like. Yep, and it still has that connection. Now we can move on to building the wheels of our car. With our plastic straw, what I like to do is, if you do have a bendy straw like this, I find that this is actually the perfect width for our axles for our wheels. So I just take my scissors, make a cut like this, flip it to the other side, line it up as evenly as I can, take my scissors, cut the other end, and then now you have two perfectly sized straws and you didn't need a ruler to measure. See, so that looks about good. Next, I will take my 4 plastic wheels, and I like to have my wheels facing up, so that way when I use my pointy end of the bamboo skewer, I try to eyeball it into the center as best as I can. And then using my force, I just push down. And I like to do that with all 4 of them. What I like to do is feed it through again, but this time the opposite way, into this end, because I like to have this little edge right here, so that way when I'm measuring it, I have something to hold. So then I'm gonna feed my straw through, feed my other wheel through. Again, double check. And make sure there is enough space between your wheels so that way your plastic straw is able to rotate. Next thing I'm going to do is take my scissors, and instead of cutting through the bamboo, I'm just gonna clamp and rotate so that way I make a score into the wooden bamboo stick. And then that way I could just grab it and get a nice clean break like that. And then I'll do the exact same thing with the rest of the stick. Next, I am going to take my wheels and kind of gauge where I want to put them, making sure that there's enough room to rotate, and then also making sure it is even. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over and then make sure our car is rotating nice without any interference. So that looks good. And then next we could slowly start bringing this together. Next, I'm going to take my motor stand again and feed our motor through. Then with my hot glue gun, I am going to glue this in place. With the rest of my hot glue, I am going to glue our on-off switch to the other end of the battery. Next, we are going to place our motor at the end, and then also double checking that it has some clearance and it's not going to hit the wheels. And then the last thing to do is just gather our wires and then tape them out of the way so that way they don't interfere with the wheels, the propeller, and the on-off switch. And then our very last thing to do is turn on our motor and watch our cars go. Now you have successfully made a battery propeller car.